Well, some big questions remain over an anti-terror investigation that led to the arrest of a minor in Kingston, Ontario last week. Now, the minor has been charged with 2 offenses and will be back in court today. Now, the charges stem from what authorities are describing as a bomb-making plot. A second person, a 20-year-old refugee originally from Syria, was also arrested Thursday, but he was later released without charge. Well, Mohammed Al-Rashidi is that man's lawyer. He joins us right now, so thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
And as we say, your client was the 20-year-old who was arrested but was then released without charge the next day. I'm wondering how he's doing today, given what he's gone through here.
It's a traumatizing experience. They've gone through a very difficult time. He himself spent 24 hours almost in custody, and he's never been in a situation like this before. And I can share with you that one example of how innocent he is in that sense and unaware. He didn't even know what the RCMP is. So I had to explain to him initially in our first conversation what the RCMP is. And so that's the level, that's the learning curve that he has had to deal with in a very short period of time under traumatic circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And you say they. I'm wondering about his family as well, because the family came to Canada as refugees. They originally from Syria. They came to Canada after years in Kuwait. How is the family dealing with all of this, given what they've gone through and seen what their son has gone through as well? Right.
So it's a very traumatizing experience for them. I have spoken to them at length. You can imagine having the doors blown off and soldiers or officers coming in, machine guns drawn, obviously in an unexpected fashion. It was very shocking. And it's important for us to understand, with the presumption of innocence, and especially this individual is innocent, what that would be like for any of us if that can happen. And it can happen to any of us. It doesn't only have to be in a terrorism case. It could be in other kinds of accusations. And so standing by the presumption of innocence, which is a cornerstone in our legal system, that would be very beneficial for us as a society.
Mm-hmm. Well, your client's name was shared by police on Thursday once he was arrested. Again, released without charge, but that name was made public. And now there are threats online from people that are coming out to get involved in this.
Yes, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Michael. It is a very dangerous situation, and that's why it's important for people in authority, politicians, and the media to exercise caution when we cover these things. The background of individuals, as the RCMP set an example for us in the Friday 1 p.m. press conference, is irrelevant. They stuck to Kingston residents. They didn't want to get into citizenships and backgrounds for a reason. The charges and criminality are not related to people's skin color or backgrounds, and it's important that we remember that during intense and scary times.
Now, in subsequent interviews since your client was released on Friday, he said that his part, at least, and why he was taken in was all a misunderstanding. I appreciate that there's a publication ban because the other person, the suspect that is in custody, will make a court appearance as a minor protected by a publication ban. But what can you tell us about what your client was referring to, that this, at least his part, was a misunderstanding?
Right. Well, what I can tell you is that this was a very large operation by the RCMP. And I think that having that many resources provided confidence for the RCMP to act the way that it has. And I'm referring specifically to the conclusions or the perspectives they may have had at the beginning of the arrest, and how they had the integrity to then, upon reassessment and learning new facts, to release an individual, which is my client in this case, without charge, despite the political and social pressures that we're now seeing, that is essentially calling for blood, if I may say that. And that's very unfortunate, because the people in the know have made decisions with confidence and are being insulated from political pressure, and we should respect that.
Well, you speak of political pressure, and the very fact that that your client came to this country as a refugee did, for a time, open up people saying that we need to review how refugees are led into this country. In fact, we heard the Conservative leader saying that the refugee process needed a review. Given what you heard, what do people need to take out of this experience?
Well, I think with respect to these comments, I think it's unwise, and I think that any politician especially in an election year, should take into consideration the harm that can be done when you feed into that culture of assuming people are guilty right off the bat. Very capable politicians have been taken down by unproven allegations over the years, and we don't want to feed that culture. And I don't understand why a politician would want to go down that road when, you know, their job is going to be on the line during this year. But more importantly, when we're dealing with people's lives and civil liberties, we shouldn't be fanning the flames of an existing division in our society, right? We do have a problem with hate crimes. It is expanding throughout Canada, and we need to lessen that and address it. And especially I bring that in light of the fact that today is the day after Holocaust Remembrance Day, and Canada has not had the greatest history in dealing with refugees, certainly with the St. Louis when Jewish refugees were fleeing war-torn Europe and we turned them away. That's not an experience that we should ever forget. And it's important to remember, people who are vulnerable, which refugees are a perfect example of that, should be protected, especially when they're already in Canada.
Mohammed, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And there's Mohammed Al-Rashidi. He is Hussam Adin Al-Sahabi's lawyer, who was arrested on Thursday but released without charge on Friday.